Happening APLers here with a week 9 review of everything that happened. Kind of a fun week. The standings a little tight in both divisions, so we'll go through what happened during the week, look at standings, and then look at the week 10 matchups, and then have a kind of a little deep dive at what the rest of the season looks like, potential like playoff picture stuff, and then a quick update on APL bets. So we'll get started. First matchup is Corey and Daggy. This one went as expected. Cole Kmet there as the backup for Evan Ingram at a game and helps lead Corey to victory here. So Daggy puts up 630 points. CJ Stroud scored like 614 himself. So close to outscoring Daggy's full team. There's not much to write home about for Daggy other than Pitts with the 116. He's been pretty steady there lately. But Zach Moss finds more of the bench than normal. Royce Freeman, the Rams really never got going. They cut the dude who started at quarterback for him now. So things just weren't good. Godwin, Lockett have off weeks. Addison had a huge catch, but that game was just kind of a disaster too. So not a lot went right for Dag. He puts up 630 points, and Corey coasts to victory here with his team not doing too much. So Mahomes got pretty much like, I don't know if he got shut down, but that game was just kind of a slog when it was hopefully going to be fun. So 259 is a pretty off week for Mahomes. Jacobs finally got fed the ball with the new coaching staff there. So he puts up a $138. Cole Kmet, as we talked about before, had 156. He caught 2 nice touchdowns and a bunch of other passes there too. So the receiving core isn't great. Devontae not on track, still with the new coaching staff. Mike Evans is pretty steady, and then Michael Thomas got a 0 there. So Corey does get some nice points from his defense there, and Levante David and Demario Davis. It's up 956. So not a great week for Corey, but enough to get by Daggy. Moves Corey to 5-4, and Daggy to 0-9. So thought Corey would win by 172, and he wins by 326 in this one. So move on to the next matchup here. So this is Jake and Dalton Schultz was the man this week. So Jake's really carried by Dak against the Eagles. Eagles' pass defense continued to be very porous, and Dak lit him up for 477. Dalton Schultz had a huge game with 280 points last week. Jake got like just over 300 from Kittle this week, 280 from Schultz. Those are tough numbers to beat. Mixon 113 from Aaron Jones, who the Packers said that they were going to unleash him. He got 24 touches for 113 points and touchdown there. They fed T. Higgins the ball for 118 points. You mix those kind of games in with the huge Dak and the big Schultz game, and Jake's just shy of 1,300 points there. Really good week. On my side, a few big numbers. Mark Andrews was good again. CD got a good chunk of the Dak numbers there with the 192. Josh Allen had a pretty good game at 360, but the rest of the guys were just okay. Still happy with 1146. It's just not enough in the matchup this week. So Jake gets a big win here, moves him to 6-3, really helps him in his division. I dropped to 7-2. Figured that I would win this one by 226, and Jake comes out with the 136 point win. So Jake does overcome his kicker getting hurt and not being able to kick any field goals. They had the running back kicking the game winning, I shouldn't say game winning. It was the go ahead field goal at one point, and ended up not being the game winning field goal. And then Bernard got hurt, linebacker there early in that Bills Bengals game too. So overcomes some injuries and puts up a big week. So nice to get out of the CMC and Kittle bye week with a win. So nice win by Jake. Next matchup here is motherfucking Cade Otton for Kevin. So I ripped him on Sunday morning for starting Michael Mayer, and he pulls Cade Otton out of the scrap heap for 176 points. That may have been more than he had like the whole season in one game, but it worked. So today's numbers here are not good. 701 points. Justin Herbert did nothing against the Jets. Eckler got a couple touchdowns, but it really wasn't super impressive, but I put that against the Jets too. Tony Pollard continues to be dust. Definitely damaged goods from the boot barn there. Nakua had like a guy who couldn't even throw him the ball there, and the Chiefs Dolphins game didn't help Waddle very much, and Joku gets outscored by 100 from some waiver wire garbage. Bucker doesn't kick any field goals. The IDPs got fired this week, so overall, just not good for today. I wonder if the boot barn plague has taken over the whole team, or if this is just a 1 week thing. So we'll see. Ross puts up 944, gets a win this week, so Lamar's fine. Rashad White, big 163, enough to get him traded off of this team. So Solomon ventures into the boot barn to see if he can get something that doesn't fall apart after 1 week. Got a big 0 to Gabe Davis. It's fun, but Kate Otten is really the story here with the 176. So I thought today would win this one handily, and Ross ends up winning this one handily. So if we're keeping track at home, the actual boot barn is 3-6, and the fake boot barn, if you wouldn't have traded people away, would be 4-5, and would be tied for second in the division, but would be leading that because it had win over Corey. Yeah, so Ross could be right in the thick of the playoff race, but instead continues to trade away his team. All right, next up is Kenny Moore. Like, this is one of the stories of the week. Dalton Schultz scores 280 points, but really it might be Greg picking up Kenny Moore on Sunday morning. A guy who had really not done too much this year. He had 1 interception, and he turns in a 111-point game from an IDP, including 2 pick sixes. So look at that shit. So Greg puts up 12-22, fueled by Kenny Moore and the kicker whisperer, the young Hoke, who comes up with 182. Huge number at kicker, huge number at IDP to go along with steady production and the rest of the lineup. So Hurts doesn't go nuts, 320 is fine, pretty good against the Dallas D. Talked about Henry and Hopkins. Knights Mixon gets a 93. Nico does, fine at 77. Olave gets a 72. Goddard with a 103. So all those numbers pretty solid. Mix in the big kicker 90p, and Greg comes out with 12-22. Things were going poorly for Tank from the start. Kelsey gets 31 points in the Sunday morning game, and I think Tank was pretty downtrodden from there. So Gino was really bad against the Ravens. Kamara touched the ball. I think he was in on 49% of the snaps, and Jamal Williams is getting more touches now, which is so weird. Ramondre had a big game. Thought it was going to be even bigger. He ripped off a 60+ yard touchdown run early in the game. So that was the majority of the points. It finally got some more passing towards the end of the game, but really nice game from Ramondre. Tank uses that matchup well to get a nice score there. Diggs is Diggs and does good stuff. McLaurin, Devonta are fine. Justin Tucker, big game. Tremaine Edmonds didn't play, but still started. And then Nate Landman, I thought that Corey owned every IDP for the Falcons. That was worthwhile, but I think it's 52 out of Landman here, but 879 is just not enough there. The quarterback tight end combo is not working when they score 185 points. You're not going to win a lot of weeks. So move on to the next week and see what Tank can do. So Greg jumps up to 3-6. Tank drops to 7-2. So thought Tank would win this one in a close battle, but Greg gets the big win. So all right, game of the week matchup here that was hyped before the week. Joe Burrow comes through on Sunday night for Ryan in this one. So Burrow with a 423 gives Ryan the win. That's hoping for a bunch of points and got him. That offense looks like it's clicking now. So Ryan loses Cousins, but Burrow steps right in and does the stuff that Burrow can do. So looking strong going forward. Mostert got a 105. a nice touchdown run there later in the game to get him up to that number. Jonathan Taylor, 94 points. Seems like he's taking over that backfield and could be scary down the stretch. AJ Brown kind of held in check this week at 93. Cowboys defense, again, tough, like you mentioned, with Hurts. Cooper Kupp was just like falling off the face of the earth the last 3 weeks. Doesn't help. They don't have a quarterback. Sounds like Stafford will be back after the bye. They have the Bryce Young Thielen combo here, and Thielen, 34 points is the Panthers offense just didn't do anything, as Solomon knows, and may have been his downfall there with the Bryce Young start. Rest of Ryan's roster is fine. Kicker has been solid all year. Logan Thomas does okay. The tight end puts up 1,074. Solomon has the Jaguars bye week here where he loses Trevor Lawrence and Ridley. Maybe that's the difference in this one. Everybody's got buys to deal with. So Bryce Young looked pretty rough most of the game, 228, and he passed a lot in the second half to get to that 228. Saquon just gets fed the ball a ton, and we'll see what happens there now that they really don't have a quarterback, how that goes. Bijan has been talked about nonstop on social media about how Arthur Smith is really just screwing him up bad, like he has done with Pitts and maybe Drake London too. So maybe he is the latest victim of Arthur Smith, or maybe this is just a big game in the wait. But definitely disappointing there for the 51 points. Amari Cooper goes nuts for Solomon. Got I think just one touchdown, but 164. Really nice week, and Hawkinson continued to be solid despite the weird quarterback play for the Vikings. Anyway, 970 points, not enough for Solomon. He's making some changes there, obviously, with the running back trade this week. And thought Ryan would win in a close one, but Ryan wins. Comes out with the 104-point win. So Ryan moves to 6-3. Solomon's at 3-6. So take a look at the weekly performers here. So these are the guys that were the leaders in each of their positions. So Dak, 477. Ramondre's, both Dak and Ramondre's first time on the list for the year. CeeDee Lamb, 192, the second week in a row. He's led the receivers, and then Dalton Schultz for 280. I should add in who owns these guys, but Jake's got the tight end score 2 weeks in a row. The shittiest guys of the week: Geno Smith, 154. Zach Moss for 26. Adding in the people, the owners of these. I think Daggy has the lowest scoring running back 4 weeks in a row. There, we had two guys who got zeros at wide receiver this week: Mike Thomas and Gabe Davis. Both can share the crown of worst receiver at 0 points, and then Kelsey at 31 was the lowest tight end. So weird to see that on the list. And the weekly awards segment here: CJ Stroud deserves some mention, even though he wasn't in the starting lineup. Not sure he would have been or should have been. I'm not critiquing that at all. But the MVP of the week, I'll go with Dalton Schultz. Talk about him a lot, but 280 points is a big one. Rod of the week, I'll go with Kelsey. You're just not expecting 31 points out of Kelsey at all. The no shit award, maybe you should just name this the Greg award. He's getting it most weeks. So Kenny Moore, I'll go with that. Did not expect 111 points out of the IDP there. So really nice pickup, and gets lucky with some pick sixes, but it works. Wouldn't have done that. Gabe Davis for Ross. I know he had a big week last week, but he's been trash most of the year, other than last week. So Dotson might have been a nice start in place of Gabe Davis, but it didn't really matter. There wasn't a lot of wouldn't do that options this week because so many people were on bye. It was hard to find bench players that were decent, or guys that started that didn't do well. They should have started them. There wasn't anybody here that would have changed the outcome of the matchup. So I'll just go with CJ Stroud because he scored over 600 points. It would have been nice for Jake to have him in the lineup over Dak, but it wouldn't have mattered. He would have, obviously Jake won either way. That would have been good at Shamrock for the high score, but not winning. It was me. I had the third highest score of the week and came out on the wrong side of the matchup there. So we'll look at standings next. I'll go through these quick because the playoff preview has all the same stuff too. So The Jake's division there has Tank in the lead. He's got a 1-game lead now over Jake and Ryan, who are both, Tank's got 7-2, Jake 6-3, Ryan 6-3, and Sadeh 5-4. So tight race between those four over there with 5 weeks to go. Daggy holding strong at the 0-9 over in Greg's division. Still got the top spot at 7-2, 2 games back. Corey at 5-4, and then the slugfest between Greg, Solomon, and Kevin there at 3-6. We'll talk more about the details of that in a minute. Week 10 matchups. There's some fun ones. Me versus Solomon. I think that's an important game just to see how how our division is going to play out. Sadeh versus Corey, another, I think, very important game. Sadeh, it's a win to try to claw back into the 2 or 3 spot there with Jake and Ryan, and Corey wants to keep his distance between the Greg, Kevin, Solomon group down there. I'll jump around a little bit. The Ryan versus Daggy matchup, maybe not as entertaining. Ryan does have a ton of people on behind week 10, which we'll talk about a little bit too. So maybe that's an opportunity for Daggy to take advantage of that. But Ryan's trying to cover some of that stuff with the Tank Dell pickup tonight. Matchup of the week is Tank versus Jake. That one's definitely the most important of the week. It pretty much goes without saying, but Jake gets the win there and he's tied with Tank for the division lead. And if he loses, it's a 2-game spot there or 2-game lead for Tank. So it's pretty critical one this week. And then Greg versus Kevin is always fun. So the 3-6 versus 3-6 battle. Can Greg put some distance between him and Kevin if they end up tied in that spot for the last playoff spot? Or can Kevin somehow find a way to make the playoffs despite selling off his team and continue to sell off his team? It's a good storyline to watch. So we'll look at the playoff race here. So have this broken down by each division. So we'll go through each person, talk about kind of what's ahead for them. So Tank 7-2, leading the division right now, is obviously 1-game lead over Jake and Ryan, 2-game lead over Sadeh. Should preface this, we have 5 weeks left of the regular season. Trade deadline will be before week 12. So we have 2 more weeks where we get to see the results, and we have to trade prior to week 12. Will be where the deadline's at. So Tank's 5-0 division record is very helpful. His points have climbed over the last few weeks, and points between he, Ryan, Sadeh, and Jake are fairly close, and that stuff will change over the last 5 weeks here. So the schedule column here is the win-loss total for the 5 opponents that you have remaining in the season. So Tank's opponents are 27-18. That's the best record that anybody faces down the line here. So basically saying Tank is a tough schedule here for the last 5 weeks. So week 10, he's taking on Jake. He's beat Jake once. That's what the 1-0 means, is he's got 1 victory over Jake. He's missing Swift and Kelsey this week, though. Maybe some concerns there. Week 11, he plays me, missing Kamara and Ramondre. Week 12, there are no buys in week 12. Takes on Solomon in week 12. Week 13, plays Sadeh. He's beat Sadeh once already, but he'll be missing Diggs. And I had Flowers in here. I think he dropped Flowers today, I believe. No, or maybe still has. Anyway, Flowers is out week 13, may not be a big deal. And then week 14 plays Ryan. He's beat once before and has McLaurin and McBride on bye. McBride probably doesn't matter, but McLaurin might. The complete, I'm blocking the other part of complete, but that's who you've played in your division that you're done playing. So he's played Daggy twice and beat him both times. So that's the schedule, and that's what buys look like. Obviously the matchup with Jake is huge here, and then he goes out of division for 2 weeks against me and Solomon, and then comes back in with Sadeh and Ryan in weeks 13 and 14, which could be very important and very fun. So tough schedule for Tank. Jake's is a little bit of the opposite story. So obviously he's a game back of Tank, tied with Ryan, 1 ahead of Sadeh. He's got a pretty solid division record. And it's a reminder for if you're head to head, like 2 people are tied the first tiebreaker is head-to-head points or head-to-head matchup. So if that's tied, then it goes to divisional record. And if the divisional record is tied, then it goes to points. So, and if there's a three-way tie, then it just comes down to points. Throw out the head-to-head, throw out the divisional record, and go to points. It's just too hard to sort through all that stuff in a three-way tie. So divisional record can be important for Jake here coming down the line. Points, he's got the lowest of these four, and would obviously like to improve that. But the schedule is the second weakest according to the win-loss record to date. So gets Tank this week. Talked about that one enough. Gets Daggy next week. He's missing Pittman in week 11. Gets Daggy, probably not a huge concern. Greg in week 12. Ryan in week 13 without DJ Moore. And then the Boot Barn in week 14 without Team Mercado, which shouldn't matter. Done playing today and win 1-1 there. So head-to-head tiebreaker between him and Sadeo will come down to divisional record and then points. So the thing I took away here is Jake's like all of his big players are done with their buys. So that's pretty big coming down the stretch here with these 5 games. He's really probably missing DJ Moore for a week, which probably isn't a huge deal. So Ryan 6-3, the divisional record at 1-3, not super helpful in the head-to-head tiebreakers. The points is very helpful. The schedule's record of the remaining opponents is 23-22, so kind of middle of the pack there. There's a bunch of people that are around that range. Week 10 is Daggy. Beat Daggy once before. He's got a lot of people on bye. Mostert's out, AJ Brown's out, Cooper Kupp's out. Rashid Rice got cut for Tank Dell. So that one probably didn't matter. So Ryan's got another wide receiver that can actually start this week on the roster. Week 11 takes on Sadeh without Jonathan Taylor. That could be key. Mostert also has Achan returning in week 11, so the running back crew in that matchup against Sadeh could be problematic in week 11. Corey in week 12, Jake in week 13, big matchup. Tank in week 14, big matchup. Missing Howell, Brian Robinson, and Logan Thomas in week 14. Those probably don't matter, but who knows what happens with injuries. So Brian also has 4 games left in the division. Everybody else has 3, so has not completed a matchup against anybody yet this year. Is probably definitely going to want to get, I mean, obviously going to want to win every week, but those matchups against today, Jake and Tank, to even those season-long matchups are important. Today's frustrated right now at the 5-4 record, just frustrated with how the team's been performing lately. Division record is still good. Points are still fine. The schedule's tough. I think that's the, look at the preview here. That's the second toughest schedule for the rest of the season. So he's got Corey this week, missing Puka and Waddle, and Higbee too. That doesn't matter probably. Gets Ryan next week. I think that'll probably be the game of the week there with just for that divisional matchup there. So they gets me in week 12, Tank in week 13, and then Daggy in week 14. So that matchup against Tank, he's missing Madison and Jacob Myers. Again, may not matter. And then the draw with Tank. Daggy has been eliminated from from playoff contention. It's 5 weeks left. He can't catch Ryan or Jake. So really we're watching to see who Daggy can play spoiler on. He's got matchups with Ryan and Jake and Solomon and today. Kind of counting Ross out of the playoff race over there because I think he's going to just continue to trade anybody who's decent. So, can Daggy get a win or 2 or 3 and cause problems for other people in their playoff races is what I'm looking for. So he's got a lot of people on bye in week 11, so maybe that's not happening against Jake and Addison out in week 13, but who knows? See what happens. All right, moving over to Greg's division. For me, 7-2 record, divisional record is good. Points are good. The schedule's middle of the pack there. I have Solomon this week without Tua and no Tyreek. The Tua isn't a big deal this week. Tyreek is a big deal. Always big deal when that guy's not playing. We get Tank next week at full strength. Today, week 12, obviously nobody on bye that week. And then week 13, I have a big matchup with Greg, and the bye weeks that Greg had when I played him are returned in this matchup. So I'm missing Allen, Cook, Andrews, and Kincaid in week 13. So it's an issue. Week 14, play Corey to close out the regular season. So completed the season against Ross with the 2-0 record there. Corey, 5-4. He's got a nice 2-game lead on the Greg, Kevin, Solomon group down there. Schedule is I'd say a little bit above average on toughness. There he's got Sadeh this week with no Mahomes and no Pacheco. Not just no Mahomes, there's no quarterback on the roster right now. Josh Fields is the backup. It doesn't seem like he's going to play this week, so he's got to find somebody in the waiver wire to combat Sadeh with. Gets Greg next week. He's missing Tyler Algier and Mike Thomas and Drake London next week. Should be able to overcome that stuff. Ryan in week 12. Ross in week 13. Probably good. He's getting to play Ross without Jacobs and Adams. But Devontae hasn't been great lately, but I'd like to think he gets right at some point. And then a week 14 showdown with me. So it's completed the series with Solomon at 1-1. So Corey's hoping through these last 5 weeks he can catch me and stay ahead of those 3 guys down there, coming to the second place spot in the division or jump to first. So Greg is a 3-6 record, 1-3 in the division. Not great if we're looking at trying to stay ahead of Solomon. 24-21 record, again, same as Corey, a little bit tougher than average. He gets Kevin this week. No Hurts, no Goddard. Well, Goddard played anyway because he has a broken arm, but no Hurts this week. So Goff will be rolling at quarterback. Next week he plays Corey with no Olave and no Johnny Smith, which is now Greg's starting tight end. There probably might be some changes there coming up, but we'll see. Jake in week 12 plays me in week 13. No Gus Edwards. Doesn't seem to be a problem. Now he's got other guys he can start. Talked about my bye week issues in week 13, and then plays Solomon in week 14. So that could be a nice showdown for the last playoff spot that week. That'd be fun. He's missing Hollywood Brown that week. Not a really big deal. It's not really starting him. So he's got 4 divisional games left. So there's a chance here that he can get that divisional record up to 5-3 if he can sweep those 4 matchups. The Boot Barn is 3-6, 1-4 in the division, almost the fewest points. Easiest schedule in the league left though. So he's got Greg this week. He's got Solomon next week. Minshew's not on the roster anymore. I put this together yesterday. To Mario Douglas, these guys all suck. So this whole roster could change over. So I don't even know if this bye week stuff matters. But Solomon, Daggy, Corey, and Jake in week 14. So the schedule is there to make a run, but keep trading everybody away. It's going to be tougher to do that, and I don't think that Ross really cares to make the playoffs. So it would be an all-timer if he did make the playoffs. Even more of an all-timer if he didn't, but the regular Boot Barn would have wins the title. Talked about it enough. Probably beat him to death, but more importantly, Solomon here, 3-6, 3-2 in the division. The divisional record is good. That'll help him. He gets to score some more points. The schedule is a little bit on the easier side as well. We have a big matchup this week. Gets the fire sale in week 11. Gets at the fire sale in week 13. And then gets Tank in between there. And then Greg in week 14. So that is the look at what we have ahead of us for the next 5 weeks. So it seems like 5 weeks seems like it's super fast. But it is what it is. So we'll see how everything goes. It'll be fun. All right. Last thing to look at here is APL bets. So these are the standings through week 9. Trying to make this make sense, but here's the place that everybody's in. And I have this ordered by how much everybody has won so far. So the first column here is how much you won. So Tank's in the lead with 20 grand. He had $2,500 put on Daggy to miss the playoffs, and that's paid out now. So Tank's other $2,500 is on Ryan to miss the playoffs. So if he cashes that, he's going to come out with that potential as 40 grand for how much he can win. So Tink's looking like he's in a good spot. He's got 20 grand banked already, but he's got to kind of catch up to that to get from him. I have the 5350 there. The potential is how much I can win if all of my bets paid out, and the money alive is how much I have left out there in bets that are still active. So some of mine have cashed out, and some of mine I've lost some too. And I have $500 left to bet. So I also had some money on Daggy to miss the playoffs, and had money on a team total going over 1,600, which is another chunk. So I think the Daggy and the team total are the majority of my 5350 that could won. So Jake's in third. He's doing well so far. He still has like $4,600 out there with the money alive and no money left to bet here. So I will do the best to put out some odds prior to each week. Particulars were coming down the stretch, and there would definitely be a lot of stuff to bet on throughout the playoffs in here. Greg next at 2,100. Greg had that same over 1,600 points for a team in there, so he has 4,000 left alive in bets and 500 left to bet. So in pretty good shape. So he's got 1,600, so he's got 200 of his bets that he's converted into just $1,600. So pretty good. Corey has bet on like everything, so he's a ton of stuff out there. Some of it's paid out, some of it hasn't, but still has a lot of money left. Solomon is the same. He's won $500 on $100 so far, and Ryan's won $500 on $300 so far. And then Daggy and Kevin. Daggy's bets are all still live with his $5,000. I think he has like 4,000 on today, getting over 8.5 wins, and then like $500 on 2 other things. Kevin has bet $1,000 that have not paid out so far, so he still has $4,000 left. So anyway, a lot of football left here. Just thought it'd be interesting to throw this out. So if you want to look at all the details, it's in the Google Sheet for the 2024 leaderboard. So all right, that's it for the review. Sorry, it's a little longer than normal, but thought it was interesting to look through the 5 weeks ahead as we come down the stretch here to make the playoffs. So talk to you guys later.